Last summer, the scout troop from our ward went on a 50-mile hike in the Uinta Mountains. This was to be a week-long backpacking trip. I didn't want to go, but my mom and dad forced me, sorta. We left on a Sunday after church and drove partway before stopping for the night. The following morning, we finished our drive to the start of the hike. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we had hiked, fished. I got to throw snowballs, and things went somewhat smoothly. My food consisted mostly of oatmeal, which I hated all the way, and the fish we had caught. On Wednesday, by around noon, we had already completed most of the hiking that we had planned for the day. We decided to drop our packs at a trail junction, and Brother Bowden stayed with the packs while everyone else, 18 people total, hiked to the Rocky Sea Pass for a group photo. As we started hiking, I decided that I didn't want to do the extra hike and wanted to return and stay with Brother Bowden. My dad told me that it was okay, and he continued on with my brother Matthew. When I turned around, I tried to follow the path that we had been walking on to return back to Brother Bowden. The problem was that the path wasn't very clear, and I ended up following the river, which I thought might lead me to the trail. While I followed the river, I got distracted for a moment and got lost. I prayed and asked for help. I attempted to retrace my steps and go back to where I was, but I got scared and went out on my own. I got confused from there because almost every plane of grass looked the same, as did the trees. I prayed again. I found this little dirt side trail that may have led back to the main trail, so I followed that. This was after wandering for a couple hours. Since I got my pack, I only had half a water bottle and no other food. It started to rain a little bit and I didn't have a jacket. The mosquitoes were devouring me and there wasn't anything I could do to stop them. I kept walking and praying, asking over and over again for help to find my dad. At one point I fell down and scraped up my arm pretty bad, and as I was walking I was grunting in pain. I walked for hours. I left my dad around noon, and it was approximately 4.5 hours later when I heard some people talking and a dog barking. I had assumed the dog must have smelled me, which probably was why he started barking. I walked up to the group and explained what had happened and that I only had my water bottle, which was now empty. They took me to the trail junction, and together we created a sign out twigs and stones that said "Connor this way" with an arrow. Then we returned to their campsite and they loaned me a jacket, gave me some food, and refilled my water bottle. They even made plans as to who would share a sleeping bag with me. I stayed with the scout troop for about 4 hours before I was reunited with my dad, and Brother Blackburn was with him. The three of us hiked back to where the rest of our troop was, and I yodeled to get their attention. When my brother Matthew saw me, he gave me a bone-crushing hug and said that if I ever did something like that again, he'd break every bone in my body. I knew that was his way of telling me he was worried about me and that he missed me. While I was missing, the other 18 members of our ward troop searched for me for hours. The young men went hoarse and yelling in their efforts to find me. They never stopped looking for me. They'd even made plans on what the rest of the troop would do in the event that I was not found. After everyone searched for hours, my dad, Brother Blackburn, Henry, and Matthew had led in their packs and started the 15-mile hike back to the cars, where they got cell phone reception to call search and rescue. Approximately 7 hours after I got lost, they got word from someone else on the trail that I had been found and was safe. My dad says that the cheers from our troop could be heard for miles. For the rest of the hike, everyone stayed close to me. I didn't want to be alone, so instead of being in my own tent, I shared with Matthew one night and Gabe Mendenhall another night. I was very happy to make it back to our car, and even happier when we ate at Dairy King in Hiram, Utah. Some things I've learned from this experience are: 1, never go off on your own. 2, anytime you're lost, just stop and not continue on the path that you're on. And 3, Heavenly Father does answer our prayers. I did pray 6 times, and even though the answer to my prayer didn't come as quickly as I wanted, my prayer was answered. Although I was missing from my dad for over 8.5 hours, I was watched over and protected. I didn't have any major illness or injury, and I was put into the hands of people who took good care of me. I also never wanted to go backpacking again.
This was an email we received from Greg Miles, the scoutmaster of the troop who found Connor. Our group was me and my 2 older brothers and our 5 sons, a total of 8. I have been a scoutmaster the past 3 years. My family or troop go to the Uintas almost every summer. It is easy for an adult to get lost in those mountains. We found Connor at 4:30. Actually, he found us. We were the only group in the area at that time and camped nearer the trail than we should have, 2 tender mercies. I heard a boy quietly, tenderly yelling help and approached him. He said his name, that he was lost and needed help to get him back. I got him food and water and sunscreen and insect repellent, and we put him in the shade. I could tell he had some level of Asperger's, and we have a boy in our troop who has full autism. Connor is a great young man, and we enjoyed our 4 hours together. Great kid. He clearly indicated your 2 locations of that day, Blue Lake and 4 Lakes, and mentioned a sign that said 1.3 miles. He did not for sure know which way he came from, or which way your troop had been headed that day, so I couldn't go all in towards one location or the other. And when you're lost for many hours in a strange forest, it all seems the same. My son Matthew is a 16-year-old Eagle Scout and did a great job calming and distracting Connor while we were walking. They talked about Pokemon and other good stuff that seemed to calm him nicely. We needed to bring Connor with us so he could maybe remember where he had been. We walked from our camp to a junction and made a sign on the ground. Matthew and Connor stayed there while I went towards 4 Lakes. While speed walking and almost jogging, my thoughts were always for you and the leaders. I could only imagine the mental and emotional anguish you were going through. It moved me to full tears and made me move faster until I had to stop to wipe my tears. While walking, I met a man and his sons who had goats with them. I was grateful to come across these individuals. I call them the goat herders. By good fortune, tender mercy, they happened to be headed to the 4 Lakes area. I knew at that time that the search would now cover all the way to that area. I felt much better at that point, which was now about 6 p.m. I still had a doubt as to where your troop was and felt that we needed to go back towards our camp. I knew it was possible there was a chance that you had gone a different way. So we went back to camp and left Connor with the rest of the crew while we went to Blue Lake. Our crew all enjoyed the moment when Connor hopped into Braden's hammock and relaxed. Connor then asked the youngest boy if he'd get him some water and snacks. This was a happy moment in the midst of a very stressful situation. Our crew made plans for where Connor would sleep and knew that teams would be out searching. Our prayers were for Dad and leaders. Today after church, my family and I have been asking questions and having a good discussion. Why did the Lord allow the pain to go on for 7 or 8 hours? Why couldn't the first or second prayer be quickly answered? Why didn't the righteous bishop and faithful boys and leaders receive a clear revelation?